earlier than anticipated. And the same pilot. An aeroplane that was designed during the Cold War as the Soviet Union's counter for potential Western opponents like the F-15 Eagle of the United States Air Force, intended as a heavy air superiority fighter. Its performance was absolutely outstanding from the outset. One of the modified... The West got its first close look thanks to photographs taken from a Royal Norwegian Air Force P-3 Orion with which one of these aircraft collided over the Barents. The Sukhoi Su-27, the flanker. This aircraft is from the 831st Guards Tactical Aviation Brigade of the Ukrainian Air Force, stationed at Mirhorod. And this is such an interesting display to watch, Mark. It's not your standard fighter displays. It looks every inch the heavy fighter that it is.
Yeah, this is an absolutely enormous aircraft. It got airborne there with a takeoff weight for its display of 45,000 pounds. Like this, as it got airborne, it's producing well in excess of 50,000 pounds thrust, so a takeoff weight here for this display already in excess of 1-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio.
The aircraft astounded Western onlookers when it started appearing at Western air displays from the Paris Air Show in 1989 onwards. Really was quite something.
And I was on the Phantom Force at the time, and I remember when it displayed at Paris, we actually had people there with stopwatches timing its 360-degree turn to work out what its instantaneous and sustained rate of turn at low level was. Quite eye-watering for an aircraft this size. And what you need to bear in mind is the max takeoff weight of this aircraft is 72,000 pounds. And when you compare that to an F-16 of 42,000 pounds, it is virtually twice the weight. And it's certainly at 15 meters.
One thing the Su-27 did do was to introduce fly-by-wire controls for the first time on a production Soviet fighter. That's one of the main reasons for this aircraft's excellent combat performance. In the post-Soviet era, the original Su-27 series has continued to equip the Russian armed forces, and it's carried on serving in Ukraine. Also equipped a number of other former Soviet states and several export customers, but the design has continued to be developed for Russia and...
Because of the size of the aircraft, one of the things it gives you the impression of is that it's actually flying slow, but it's not. It is flying at typical fast jet speeds here, between 350 and 450 knots. Obviously with the faster passes up to 600 and the slow pass now down at about 150 with the undercarriage coming down. So one of the things we were concerned about when this aircraft first came onto the scene is gauging its energy levels in air combat. Now for very slow speed.
Yes, one of the manoeuvres that Soviet test pilots amazed audiences with first the MiG-29 and then the Su-27 at Western displays was the tail slide. We saw it in the and that, as much as anything, a tribute to the engine performance of the aircraft. The two Lyulka, or now Saturn AL31F7. Comes another.
All of the control surfaces working in the opposite sense as you slide backwards. So left rudder actually moves the nose to the right, and up elevator actually moves the nose down. So quite a difficult manoeuvre, but no doubt the controls lock centrally as the aircraft flies itself out of that manoeuvre. But the engine's working incredibly hard to suck hundreds of litres of air into it, despite the air wanting to go in the opposite direction.
It's still not something I've ever seen performed by a conventional, i.e. non-thrust vectoring Western fighter.
No, agreed.
When Ukraine became independent, it took on 67 former Soviet Air Force Su-27s, and they carried on serving in the same roles as in Soviet times. Most of them are based at Mirhorod in central Ukraine with the 831st Guards Tactical Aviation Brigade, from which this aircraft comes. It's the main provider of air defense for the country. There's another smaller squadron of flankers at Otserna in the north. When Su-27s and other Ukrainian Air Force aircraft undergo a general overhaul, they receive this new so-called pixelated camouflage pattern, which is applied in blue on the Su-27s. Very attractive it is too. This is a modernized one, a Su-27 P1M, at very slow speed indeed, with the air brake deployed.
In exactly the same position as the F-15. That air brake actually reminds me that the aircraft at certain angles looks like an F-15, at other angles it looks like an F-16, and from head on it looks a bit like an F-18, so you can kind of tell where the lineage of the designers of the Bureau actually got their ideas from.
The upgrade I was just talking about adds a satellite navigation system, a new instrument landing system. Crucially also for international operations, a transponder that's compatible with international standards. The first of the upgraded jets was handed over in March 2012. The work was done in country at the Zaporozhye State Air Repair Plant. And the upgraded aircraft were accepted for service in August. And the following year, 2015, the Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko took a backseat ride in one of the upgraded two-seat Ukrainian flankers. These aircraft still providing a very potent combat capability. And of course, Ukraine has been engaging very much with the West in recent years, and links between its air force and those of numerous Western nations have been greatly developed in recent times. The aircraft flown today, as it was last year, by Colonel Alexander Oksanchenko. He's been the Ukrainian flanker display pilot since 2011. He's got around 1,050 hours on type. It's interesting reading some of the documentation we get to see relating to the aircraft and their display routines in advance of the show, and some of the details for the flanker talk about what they get up to in the course of a normal day's operations. And as far as air combat training was concerned, it said they would perform 1v1 dogfighting, 2v2, and then melee.
That's what we call a monster. As the aircraft rolls out, you see the giant air brake with some aerodynamic braking, and then two parachutes will come out to retard the aircraft. Great to see back in the RIAT flying.